Yo, what's up YouTube? This is going to be part 2 of my 3-part series of guides on my main team. This is part 2. I'm going to be going over Blue Goku in this video. The last video I did Z Broly. If you want to see that video, check in the description below. I'll have a link to it. And whenever I upload the base Vegeta guide, it will be there too. So let's go ahead and get right into this. So, Blue Goku, first of all, he's blocking. Okay, good. So, Blue Goku, first of all, his buttons are really good. His staggers are insane. Alright. So, 5L, -3. For LL, he has a 4LL. Still -3. He's got a 2L low. It's -4. His 5M at first doesn't look that good. It's really big, but it's pretty minus. Until you do his 4M. This is really cheap move. Really cheap button. Alright. 2M, -5, safe. And his 5S is -4. So he's got extremely good pressure on the ground. There's not much you can do except try to reflect, but that's exactly what he wants you to do. And I'll explain why later. But let's talk about some of his air buttons. So his JS, kind of like base Vegeta, right? In the sense that it keeps his momentum. He doesn't stop like the other Gokus in the game. And it doesn't cover nearly as good of an angle, but still, it's really good to have it, right? So another thing about the way his Ki Blast works is that a lot of time, if you go for an air-to-air and you happen to whiff some buttons, right? So you don't gel them down, you can air dash forward, throw a Ki Blast, and be mad plus still. Like that. And another thing too is he has this incredible, and I mean incredible JM. This button, if you use this as an air-to-air, 9 times out of 10 will beat like most characters' JLs in the air, with the exception of like Piccolo, right? Which you still trade with Piccolo a lot in that situation. So the fact that it's comparable to that is really good. His other air buttons aren't really that amazing, so I'm not going to talk about them. Alright, so let's talk about his specials now. So his 236S and 214S, this is how you're going to get knocked down sometimes. You can do quarter circle back S and you'll stay same side, and it's a bit faster. And you can do quarter circle forward S, cross up, but it has a little bit of a longer startup. If they do block this, you're +1, which isn't the best in the world, but still, it's really good. Another thing too is this move will give SKD. So let me see that. Pretty good Oki too. So like you can do something like, if you have a super dash, right? You can do something like that. And it has mad corner carry. Really good. And that's kind of true for the rest of his character's kit. He has just really good corner carry all the time. So another thing about Blue Goku is his lariats, his quarter circle forward light and his quarter circle forward medium are both frame 4 Ki Blast invincible. So let's say you're about this distance away from Broly, right? You can reflect the Ki Blast and then cancel into his lariat. Pretty good. And on top of that, his quarter circle forward heavy lariat not only does it swap side and safe, it's also frame 1 Ki Blast invincible. So if you're fighting a character like base Vegeta, right? His Ki Blasts are pretty fast. Not the fastest in the game, but they're very, very fast. You might not have time to reflect and do his other lariats. There might not be big enough gap, but you can cancel into his EX. And although it's got a pretty hefty startup on it, a lot of the time the only way for them to escape that situation is to go for a vanish. So another thing about his lariats is that his 236M will never gel from any of his buttons. There's at least a 2-frame gap every time, meaning that if they try to jump out of your pressure, you can frame trap it with the 236M, and because it scales like a medium, you can get like 60% or even ToD them off of it. Another thing too is Goku is one of the only, if not the only character in the game with an unreactable grab you can combo off of. Solo and with assist. Unreactable, 17 frame startup. So really good. The range on it is very short, however. So like you have to, okay, so I'm right on top of them right now, right? This range whips. Z Broly, he can grab you from like back here. You gotta be like right on top of them to get this command grab with him. Also, this part, if it does happen to whiff, it's still safe. So it's got a physical strike attached to it. So a lot of the time, they'll try to jump out and super dash to punish it. And a lot of the time, you'll just straight up hit their super dash with the punch follow-up. And if you're using assists to extend off the command grab instead, you can even get a full combo off it. And keep your SKD. Also, the heavy grab got much longer range. Very slow, and it still has the same physical hit attached to it. Still safe. I wouldn't recommend doing either the medium or the heavy grab though, because it's just so easy to react to. The animation is very apparent of what he's going to do, so it's very easy to react and just jump out. One more thing too is his 214, his J214 series of moves, all really good. So his 214M. So his 214M will give him SKD pretty much anywhere on the screen, given the combo scaling, or the hit stun scaling isn't so high, right? And the heavy one gives SKD too. And the OK on this is insane. I'll go into that later, but that is some of the, he's got one of the best safe jumps in the game, and I'll explain why later on. But the 214L, however, is unfortunately mostly just a combo tool, and it's still really good neutral though, right? So you can kind of threaten, kind of like Kid Buu does, right? You can kind of threaten that, and if you have a faster assist there, you can get a combo off of that. With this team specifically, I try to do Vegeta assists if I have them. See that? Get an assist extension off of that. Still really good, and if they block it, I'm plus. One more thing too about Goku is that his 214H, not only does it give you an insane knockdown, but it could set up a 50-50. Very much like Cell, in the sense that if you block it, it teleports behind you and he gets a high-low mix or even cross-up. It's pretty much a four-way mix-up given the right assist. I don't really have the assist for that, so I don't use it usually. I'd usually opt for super dash assist for my mix-up instead. But that's just something else you can do if you're running like a GTB, Gotenks B, Kid Buu A, those type of assists. Pretty popular characters right now in the meta, so pretty strong synergy between the two. So Goku is a stagger pressure oriented character. And what I mean by that is that he really likes to restart his pressure in the middle of his block strings a lot, and his amazing frame data really complements that. So his block strings can seemingly go on for eternity if the opponent doesn't try to do anything risky like reflecting or guard canceling, which he has really good punches on. Like I said, I'll get into that later once I go over his combos, but right. It was almost seamless for the most part because this 4M is just that good. And on top of that, he has the whole 5S, 5H mix-up that a lot of characters in this game have. And if you're not aware, right? So the whole mix-up is, if he does 5S nothing, he can restart his pressure. If he does 5S, 5H, then, and you try to mash or you try to super dash, like let me set him to guard cancel super dash, right? You beat the super dash and you get a full combo. Really good. Albeit, you do have to have kind of good reactions to confirm off of that, not like auto cancel into a lariat or anything. But in the corner, that don't really matter as much. And a lot of time too, like especially in the corner, right? You can set up 2M to be -2 if I can do it here. There we go. It took me a couple of tries, but yeah, you can make your you can make your 2M -2. Obviously, that's really good, right? So you can just like infinitely just like keep it this distance where a lot of characters can't really challenge him. Really strong. On top of that too, his 5M just normally has insane range on it, and it has a kind of like a sword hitbox on it. That little blue strike thing there doesn't really have a hurt box attached to it, so you can kind of freely just throw this out a lot of time and it will hit people trying to counter mash on you. Like you can do 2M, backdash 5M, and if they press a button, you'll hit them a lot of the time. Another thing too is that where 4M is -2, this becomes a really strong option. So, you know, usually reacting to DR isn't that bad, right? Because once they're past the lots, you don't really have to worry about it. Once they step into their mediums, you don't really got to worry about it. But this character can kind of tick throw you like a 5L DR because the 4M is so safe. Same thing with the 2M. If you space it out properly, you can make a DR almost, well, I'm not going to say unreactable, but you can kind of throw it in midstream. And also, where his 5LL is a low, you can do this. Just, he's got a lot of lows. He has 3 lows total because his 5LL is also a low. And it scales like a medium, of course. So if they get hit by that, they oftentimes just straight up explode, if not die. So another thing too is you can do, right? And if you time this correctly, let me set the bot to jump real quick. After guarding, alright? If you stagger properly, you can hit their jump and make them explode. A lot of, well, I'm not going to say a lot. Every character with a 4L can do this. His 5L being a low is especially good because a lot of time, you know, you can just like infinitely stagger your lights. And let's say they finally get tired of blocking. You can do 5LL there and it will counter hit the reflect, because a lot of time you can't reflect the lows if it's a true string. You'll just get counter hit. So really good option, really strong, and he can TOD off it, much like every other thing he has in the kit, right? He can TOD off of almost everything 0 bar. So not only does he have this as a great 50-50 tool in the corner, if you don't have the assist for it, you could still super dash mix, and he has really good buttons for it. So, you know, on top of his amazing stagger pressure, you know, they're not really prone to mashing 2H, right? They're stuck between looking specifically for the super dash, 6M, command grab, all this stuff, right? He builds a good mental stack on them. So a lot of times you can get away with doing super dash assist and getting free mix-up off of most of his buttons. And lastly, because of his amazing frame data, right, the only minus buttons he has are like 5H. That's pretty much it. And 2H, you really can't guard cancel this character. You have to have really good timing on your guard cancel. So a lot of time, the time where I get guard canceled a lot on is I do 2M, 5S, and they guard cancel on the end of the 2M. But if you can recognize, right, if they keep blocking, a lot of the time they're just looking for a guard cancel. So you can start getting cheeky. Well, I didn't do 4M there, but you can start getting cheeky, throwing in DRs. going for IED overheads, all this stuff while they're looking for guard cancel. Really strong. And on top of that, a lot of time, if they place their guard cancel badly, pretty much on anything that's not the 2M or the 5H, you get a 2M starter punish, and his damage is insane, which I'll go over once I get to the combo section. His neutral, for the most part, is fairly honest in an offline sense, right? Online, it's kind of cheese because he's got all this like side swapping stuff. This and this having the same animation, a lot of cheap shit, but his neutral for the most part is kind of honest. He doesn't really have anything crazy. He's got a beam. He doesn't have a beam. His ki blast is all right. He doesn't have the best ki blast, like I said. You have to super jump here to get it to go full screen. Whereas base Vegeta, he can do like a non-committal IED backdash and still reflect the super dash. All that stuff. His neutral isn't the best. That's the point. So a lot of time, the way you're going to get in is by like I showed over earlier, reflecting ki blast into this or into this and calling assists and shit. Because this can clear the way. So like you can combine this and this, and you'll clear the way for your assist to come out, because the ki blast won't hit him. So a lot of time, you're really reliant on your assist to get in. One of the major things you can do, though, and this is mostly because of his great 5M, is you can do this. Alright. I don't think that was a true string. Yeah, it wasn't a true string, but still. And if you time that correctly, you can even get a full combo punish if they get hit by your ki blast. But he doesn't really have a lot of cheap shit in the neutral. He's mostly relying on like this and assist call. A lot of assist calls. You have to use an assist to get in. But that's about it for the most part. You're mostly just looking to threaten with this or an IED JS to B+, because a lot of time, you know, people when they try to push, they go for an IED JM or something, and you could 2H those, but this is on 2H-able because it's a ki blast property move. So if they try to 2H it, you can counter hit the 2H and get a combo off it. So his combos are pretty easy. He has the basic Saiyan B and B route. So you do 2M, 5M, medium lot 2H, medium lot 2H, lot. There's that. He also gets this little extension. Instead of doing lot at the end, you can do his J214M. And see how that put me like right in the corner? It has a lot of corner carry. So let me put me in the other corner. Pretty much put me kind of past the halfway point compared to the B and B. Which puts me right at the halfway point. And on top of that too, you can also do his 5S into it too for more damage or just for better Oki. He also has an extremely easy re-jump. It's one of the easiest in the game. So if you are good at doing re-jumps, or you're trying to learn how to do re-jumps and you're playing this character, he's a good character to do them with. And he gets a lot of reward on top of it because of all of his corner carry. There we go, second try. Not much more corner carry compared to just doing the B&B, but still he has it, and with assists, you know, you can make that go full screen. In the corner, this is really where his damage shines. So, well, we're going to start off with just his corner B&B, right? Nothing crazy. It's the same exact combo as mid-screen, except now this becomes pretty much your go-to for knockdown. And I'll talk about that after this. But let's talk about his loops. So his loops are fairly difficult. I've been playing this character for about a year, so I'm pretty good at them. But they're not the worst in the world. If you're already like good at executing in this game, you could probably pick up this character and do the loops pretty consistently. Now that being said, The way you want to start these loops is do 5M, 2M, 2 through 6M. That's your go-to. You want to hit this 2 through 6M. So once you do that, you can do 2M, 5H. And once you do 2M, 5H, super dash, medium, JS, 2 through 6L. Auto time, that first loop, there's no timing specific to it. It's timed for you. You don't have to delay a single thing. And after that, you want to do JL, quickly cancel it into JLL, S. There's a delay there too. After the JLL, you delay S, and then delay 2 through 6L. So let me show off what that looks like in action. See, that's what it looks like. And then after that, you can just go into the basic B&B that you know, and end in Key Blast 214H. Pretty easy, and it oftentimes leads into like 55-60% even if you extend with assists. And I'll show that off later too at the end of the video. But his loops aren't really the worst. You can do them off of 5H2, so like let's say you hit the 5S Key Blast. You just skip doing 2M 5H afterwards. You just go straight into Super Dash MS. That's all you got to do to get off 5H. Another thing too, so let's say you hit them with staggered 2M 5M. You can do it off of this too. Except now you got to delay the 2M 5H. Alright. Still not the worst. Sometimes you can't get a combo off of that. So like if they're a little bit out of the corner, you might have to just jump up and do the B&B and lose out on some damage. But it is what it is. Not the most consistent thing in the world, but that's just how it is. Now after Vanish, he doesn't really have anything crazy. 2M, 5M. Not the best damage in the world. And there's a fancier combo you can do here too. I never bothered to learn it because I'm not good at doing it. There we go. Pretty hard to do. And online, I wouldn't even bother doing it because the jump cancel into the IED is kind of tight timing on it. And the combo you can do off his EX Larry, if you do happen to hit this on someone in the neutral or in the corner, is you can do dash up, 2M, 5M, and then just do the B&B. Pretty easy combo, not very complicated. Another thing too is off of DR, he doesn't really get much. With assists, you want to go for the 27 hit DR, and the way you do that is you just hold it until like towards the end, then you let go. But solo, let's say you don't have assists, you of course want to hold it, get the full 30 hits. Not the best damage in the world. With assists though, you can get 40% off of that, and I'll show that later. So let's talk about his safe jumps, and his safe jumps are really good. So let me talk about his J214H, since that's like one of the best safe jumps in the game. So his J214H has insane Oki off it, which allows you to get an extremely meaty safe jump. And if you've ever fought Baby, I'm sure you've been hit by his Wake Up Great Ape Super, right? It seems like it's unsafe jumpable, really hard. But it turns out you can safe jump it, you just have to have a very meaty safe jump. It has to hit really deep into the animation. So let me go ahead and show off how Goku could safe jump the Great Ape Super. See that? It hits so deep into the animation that you can actually block that in time and punish it. Really good. And on top of that too, so a lot of time where you can do the JH, so let's say they're reflecting, right? They're reflecting your safe jump, whatever. You can do his JS as a safe jump. So let me show that off. See that? And you still stay in their face, and you're still plus. I wouldn't really recommend doing that a lot. I only do that if I notice they're reflecting a lot, because they can wake up super dash a lot of time, and if you try to go for a 2L low or something, you'll get hit by the low crush super dash. So really strong still. It's not as plus. You're like plus 13 if they block, but you stay in their face. You force them to double reflect if they do that, and you can do JS into command grab if they do happen to reflect. This also goes for his 214M knockdown. So anytime you get a knockdown for this character, you can go for a JS safe jump instead. A little dash forward, and then boom. So off his 214M, you just want to do like a little dash, and then when you see the animation in, go for an IED, whatever. You could still get the JS on that. It's not nearly as good. I only ever go for the 214M mid-screen, but if you can help it, always earn the bar on the 214H. The pressure is too good on it. There's a lot of mind game stuff too, like you can do JL into, whoops, you can do JL and then dash up 214L, because this a lot of times is 2+. Maybe not on Broly because he's so big, but a lot of time you want to do JL as a safe jump if you're going to go for the tick throw on their wake up, because there's too much block stun so they won't get hit. So he's got really strong pressure, really strong Goku. Now, if you want to set up his tick throw off his 5L, and I'm not talking about his DR, I'm talking about this, without resetting your pressure, you have to do a dash momentum 5L. And what I mean by that is, so if you do a normal 5L, you see how there's pushback here, you're not close enough to get the command grab. But if you have dash momentum, see how I kind of stay in their face, so I can move towards them? If you have dash momentum, you can get the command grab straight off of the 5L, no delays. Really good. Off his level 3, he doesn't really get much. So his level 3 is kind of lackluster, except for the fact that it's also a level 5. So let me go ahead and show that off. Only plus 41, and you're not close enough to do anything crazy. This ain't no base Vegeta level 3 or 21 level 3. You don't get any mix off of this. And if you try to go for mix, it's not real mix, because you can't set up a JL or JM or 2L to hit on the same frame. So a lot of time to get a safe jump off of this super, you're going to have to do a super jump IED JH. It's the only kind of real safe jump you can do, and like I said, you can still go for JS here. Don't really recommend it, but he does have that. Another thing about his level 3 is that if you hold the button, let's say your back's in the corner, right? And you wake up reversal, you can hold a button down and you'll side swap. This is also useful if you want to level 5. So let's say you level 5, you can hold down both the buttons, you'll get the side swap, and because the level 5 side swaps again, it'll just put you back in the corner, which isn't ideal. But like I said, you can just hold down the button. This is more so if you're not in the corner and you want to keep it. But pretty versatile. You can steal the corner. You know, your Oki is mine now type of energy. So one last thing is, much like a base Vegeta, he has a fairly easy sparking bait. So if you do this, you can bait spark real easy with his 2 through 6H. Okay, one of the last things I'm going to talk about, and let me go ahead and set my bar to 0, is that this dude can pretty much not level 3, he can TOD you off of more than half of his kit. So his 5LL, his 2M, his 5M, and his 236M, and his 5H can all TOD you for 0 bar 5H can TOD you for straight up 0 bar. The most of them, you need the small amount down in the bottom left to TOD them, which a lot of time you're just going to have that from them blocking. So, not really a problem. All of those were more or less kind of team specific, more in the sense that the 5LL, 2M, and the 5M TOD require that you're able to double super off of one of your DHCs. Most of the time your team can do that if you have Broly Anchor, if you have like a Piccolo level 1, you know, Krillin can do it even, but he doesn't really need to, because you can, anyone that has like a level 2 even can do it, would even be better because there's less scaling. Really good though. So the whole game plan here is that you get them to the corner and you want them to guard cancel. You really want them to guard cancel on your 2M or your 4M or your 5L or your 2L. You know, all of your safe buttons. You want them to do that just so you can kill their character, and then boom, they have a dead mid or a dead anchor, and their point is in one-touch range, because this character does mad damage. And this character is extremely good at two-touching too. And I'll talk about that right now as we're transitioning into the assist extensions part. So, off of pretty much anything, you can two-touch. One of his combos that you can do with assists, if you have both assists available to you, you can get about 40-ish% off of his command grab. And at the same time, you'll build like 2 bars, setting up a two-touch on the next touch. Right, so that's about 2 bars. The next touch will kill, because you'll have the 2 bars plus the at least 1.5 you'll build from any touch to kill. Even if you just command grab them again, you'll kill them. The whole reason you use both assists in that combo too is because you use up your sliding knockdown to get max damage there. So if you're not a big fan of that and you don't mind losing on some damage, you can cut out this part and just go straight into the B&B and then get a knockdown. But me personally, I like to maximize the damage, because any touch I get on the next hit will kill this team. Another thing is that Goku off of a Dragon Rush get 40% a knockdown and loops off of a Dragon Rush. Although It's just like base Vegeta in the sense that you have to do a 27 hit Dragon Rush for this specific combo to work. Your mileage may vary depending on your assists. That combo isn't exactly the easiest thing to do in the world, but depending on the assists, you could even get more damage off of that, I'd say. If you have like a beam assist even, that would probably be ideal, because then you can even get the 2M 5H little extension, just like the beginning of these loops, where you do 2M 5H and then super dash. And lastly, mid-screen, if you have the right assists and you have good timing, you can actually time his J214L into an assist for good, even more corner carries. See that? That was pretty much corner to corner, and I got like 40-50%. God forbid they get hit by any of your mediums too, because if they do, they're losing 60% easily if you have both assists failable. This is like base Vegeta types of damage, and you're gaining 2.5 bars. Look at 62%, both assists, and you get 2.25 bar. Insane. Insane. And if you spark up, you can do a really lazy combo and probably still TOD off of that if you have a little bit of meter to start with. That's about it for this guide. Goku is a really strong point. I prefer him in the point position because his neutral is lacking. You can still play him as a mid though. He has some pretty okay assists. His C assist is a tracking C assist, so it's kind of like UIC in a way. It's really good for characters that kind of need an air assist, like Vegito. So he could fill that role if you need it. But me personally, I just play him point because his neutral isn't exactly the best, so he kind of needs the assist to get in and do anything. Plus, his damage is so good that you want the assist so that you can really maximize every single touch. But that's about everything that I know of with this character that I can cover. Just like in the previous video, if you know anything else with this character, please leave it in the comment section below for me and for other people coming across this video. And I hope to see you guys in the base Vegeta guide. If you're interested, that will also be in the description when that gets uploaded.